Hello and welcome back to FT.com. We have the ideal subject to get your blood boiling on a Monday morning today. It's the FT's annual survey of top bank CEOs' pay. There's almost no subject that gets people as annoyed as this, so I'm thoroughly looking forward to discussing it with our investment banking correspondent, Daniel Schäfer. Daniel, let's take a look at the main finding from this report, which many people will be very happy about, which is that top bank CEOs' pay dropped 10% last year, but perhaps they won't be so happy that it fell to $11.5 million. What was the guts of what's happened to top bankers' CEO pay last year?
The main reason really for the drop by a tenth of the pay of the 16 bank CEOs we're looking at, the data being compiled by Aquila, a US executive research firm, is that there has been last year a mixture of investor and regulatory pressure on banks and banks' boards. So this pressure, particularly we've seen quite a few investor revolts at some of the annual shareholder meetings at some of the European banks, but also some of the US banks. This has prompted bank boards to rethink executive pay and to say we'll need to change something given the underperformance that some of the banks have had in their share prices in recent years.
And is it fair to say in general we're seeing a reduction in cash bonuses in particular?
It's both cash and stock bonuses actually that have gone down. So we're seeing them being hit on both sides, whereas the base salary in general tends to be stable.
Okay, now we have the world's 16 top paid banking CEOs here, a rogues gallery. I'm sure everybody will be amazed to discover that they're all male. Let's start going through some of the more interesting examples, and we should start with this man here, John Stumpf. Not the world's best known banker, but currently the best paid. What went on behind his pay at Wells Fargo?
John Stumpf is a very low profile banker, and not many people here in London or not even in New York would know him. But he's actually heading what has become now the bank with the highest market capitalization among Western banks.
It's overtaken JP Morgan.
It has, yeah. So Wells Fargo is a highly successful US-focused mortgage and retail bank. And I'm saying highly successful. It points to that some investors and analysts would say he's rightly on top of the list despite his low profile, because he had the fourth year in a row with record profits for the bank.
And Warren Buffett has always been a big supporter of the stock. Let's move on to somebody that most of us have heard of. That's Jamie Dimon of JP Morgan. Paid down 19%. Why was that?
The main reason really for this is the trading debacle that JP Morgan had last year.
The whale.
The London whale, as it's famously known, which cost a $6 billion loss at the bank, which didn't prevent JP Morgan from making yet another record profit in 2012 as a whole. But obviously, it caused a regulatory firestorm. It caused some, investor anger, and it also reflected on his pay. And we're seeing a 90% drop for him in the past year. And he will be in next year's list. He will be even lower because the bonus he got paid this year was halved because of the London whale debacle. So we'll see him drop even further in the future.
Okay, and then finally, a new entrant. Is Mr. Jenkins, Mr. Anthony Jenkins at Barclays. Only 4.1 million, very much less than his predecessor Bob Diamond. What's happened there?
Anthony Jenkins really epitomizes the sort of new world in banking, particularly in Europe. His predecessor Bob Diamond was second on the list last year with a 20 million pay package that caused huge anger in the UK media and public and among politicians. And he was brought in after the LIBOR scandal forced out Bob Diamond, and he, as you can see, he comes at the bottom of the list with a 4 million pay package. He's a much more low-key banker. He comes from the retail side. He doesn't have this sort of brash investment banking culture that Bob Diamond stood for. And he sort of epitomizes the new way, also in terms of pay that we might see among some of the European banks in the future. I have to add that part of the reason why his pay is so low is that he'd forgone his bonus, his cash bonus for last year, because of the libel scandal and various other, like the mis-selling scandal for payment insurance.
Okay, Daniel, thank you very much indeed. I fear that's all we have time for now. But if you want to go to ft.com/bank bonuses, we'll have all of this as an interactive graphic to play around with, and you can see exactly how much each of these men is paid.